here we go. Voilà, quelques petites annonces. I'm just about done with the module. I was trying to very quickly get it done before starting the class so that you could refer to it. But I didn't get it done, so that'll be my first thing after I get done recording, to go finish that module. What I decided to do, and just kind of didn't tell you, is that we would go ahead and do both sections of 6-2 last week, and that this week we would spend time reviewing passé composé with avoir and with être. D'accord? On the final, as we get closer to the final, you'll get more information. I will have the study guide up in way earlier than normal so that you can start prepping. But you probably already know the final is going to be comprehensive. It is going to focus more specifically on Chapter 6, but it's going to have key elements from earlier in the semester as well. One of those elements is going to be passé composé with avoir. It's pretty hard to use passé composé with être without the other, or vice versa. So you can bet that we will have at least one big activity on the final that has you deciding between passé composé avec avoir or avec être. So we're just going to kind of take a pause this week to review very well passé composé. I'm also reopening some old quizzes. There are a lot of people who have missed various quizzes. I know part of that is because the deadlines, I kept postponing the deadlines, thinking that would help you, and it mostly just confused people, so I am very sorry about that. There will be a slight points reduction if you take one now that you should have taken, last month or something, but it'll be very, very small, so it will be worth your time to go back and re-review those sections of the book and retake or take for the first time the quiz. Now I say retake because if you took them the first time and you weren't happy with your score and you want to try it again, text me or email me and I can add you as a second attempt person, and you may be able to help your grade. So that's an option also. Anyway, those will all be due in 2 weeks. I didn't want you to have to scramble and get a whole bunch of extra quizzes done this week, so you will have 2 weeks to go and kind of review those and look at them, see if you want to take them again and all that stuff. And I'll be going through those very soon, the ones that I haven't gone through yet, so that you can see how you did more specifically if you want. Voilà. So, as I said, basically we're reviewing passé composé with avoir, passé composé with être, and you can go back and take some quizzes. Your compos will be back tomorrow, and your rough draft for your next compo is due Sunday. If you did not turn in your oral exam yet, I just remembered that only a couple people have turned those in, and I meant to mention it. I'll probably give you a couple of extra days, wait, and I'll add that in the module, or I'll just send everybody an email about it. But you will have a points reduction if you didn't turn it in on time in the first place. Again, a fairly minor points reduction, but it's not fair to the people who turned it in on time for other people to get full credit. So do work on that if you haven't yet. It's in your oral, it's in it's in the test module with your test and quiz info, and you have everything you need there to get your oral composition ready, or your oral test, your oral exam ready. So let me know if you have any questions, and be sure and get that done ASAP. It's fairly small. It's not nearly as big as your compositions are supposed to be, so I know it sounds like a big scary thing. It's not that big of a thing. So try to kind of just think, okay, cool, I'll just, go write that real quick and then record it and send it to Madame Clay, and you'll be all set. So there. Ok, on va commencer quand même à réviser un peu le passé composé avec avoir, le passé composé avec être. We're not nearly as limited now as we were before the last test in what things we can practice because we just learned our RE verbs, comme vendre, descendre, attendre, and that was the big group that we still hadn't learned, and it's, I found out, relatively impossible to find activities online for you guys to practice that do not include RE verbs for passé composé. So I'm very happy that you finally learned those so that now we can look at pretty much any passé composé exercise we want. Alors voilà. Quelques petites mentions de révision. Well, go ahead and show you this. This is on your module too, but basically you're going to have passé, you can review passé composé with avoir on 216 to 219 in your book, and être from 242 to 247. So, voila. Your iLearn is still, I meant to say this too, your iLearn is still going to focus pretty much on 6.2. So you just have some additional activities to do with that. Most of them are with passé, a lot of them are with passé composé with être, and then of course vocab. So voilà, j'allais mentionner ça et j'avais oublié. Boom. So as we said before, when you're studying passé composé for either kind of passé composé, the first thing is to make sure that you know the auxiliaries really, really, really well. So go study or review avoir and être, please. D'accord? Voilà. And your next thing, especially with être, or that is for être, is to study, review your adjective endings. Now these are the very first ones you learned, so we talked about this last week, of course. Nothing, E, S, and ES, right? So these are the ones that were the very, very, very most basic adjective endings that you learned way back when you have words like grand or blond or petit, etc., where you just add an E for feminine, S for masculine plural, ES for feminine plural, n'est-ce pas? Il n'y a rien de plus simple. And no matter how wacky your past participle for passé composé with être looks, you're going to add these endings and just not worry about it. Voilà. So, and these adjective endings, yes, they're important, especially for our purposes, because you're obviously going to have to know them to get full credit on your quiz or full credit on your test or whatever. But beyond that, and the fact that we just always want to try to teach you the most detailed, or not the most, but all the little details that you're supposed to know, whether they're necessarily impactful for comprehension or not. If you go to Paris and you are talking to someone and you happen to use a past participle where they could hear if you made the correct agreement or not, and you hadn't made the correct agreement, it's not going to cause confusion, at least the vast majority of the time. They're going to be able to tell from context who you mean or what you mean, and it's not going to be an issue. But of course, we want to look at all of the fine points and make sure that everybody knows all that stuff, or at least tries to know all that stuff. So study them as best you can. Excuse me. But know that it is another one of those things that isn't going to block comprehension. I think I may have already told you guys this before. I usually say it at least once per semester. In a perfect world, we would give you a few basics and then drop you on a corner in France and check on you in a month. And the people who had found food very easily, had found all their restrooms and kept themselves clean, and got plenty of rest, basically survived well, would get A's. And other people would get lower grades accordingly. So because really, in a perfect world, we would teach all these languages with an eye to communication and communicative success, right? Since we can't really do that, we take a slightly artificial perspective on language study. So we do have to look at a lot of the fine points that you definitely need to know, but which aren't going to block comprehension if you're talking to a native speaker necessarily. So, voilà, having said all that, you know then that you're going to use your auxiliary or helping verb if you want, right? So that's avoir, oh, lolo, right? Plus past participle, right? And actually, I'm going to do this. I meant to do this. Or okay, so just in case we needed to kind of look at that again. So let's look at a few of these. We're just going to grab some activities online and go practice. So let me see. There was one we were going to start with that was a little more basic. Non, peut-être pas. Bon, bah, c'est pas grave. So this one, you can see they've already given you avoir, okay? And you just have to figure out what the correct past participle is, okay? So you can tell already what this verb is coming from, finir. Stop and think to yourself what kind of verb that is and what's my ending going to be. So that's one thing we didn't talk about yet to review. You have a lot of irregulars, obviously, right? Which are on your passé composé pages. But basically, IRs, just change to I, ERs, just change to accent aigu, oh pardon, and REs, regular REs, I should say, change to U. D'accord? Now again, if any of these are going to happen with être passé composé, you're going to add your ending right on the end of this. Okay? So then we had we had quite a few irregulars. So look on your pages for passé composé and avoir, passé composé with avoir, passé composé with être, to remind yourself of the irregulars, and we'll talk about them as we go through these exercises too. But you might want to actually have those pages open or bookmarked so that you can turn to them pretty quickly as we go through the activity. Alors, je vais faire que ça soit flottant. Translucent? Non, c'est pas grave. Bon. Okay, so il a presque fini. We're still going to have the same pronunciation regardless. What's my ending? We just said fini. N'est-ce pas? Attendez. Voilà. Vous avez bien réfléchi? So again, pause the video if you need to before we go on. Réfléchis avec qui, n'est-ce pas? À votre projet. Elle a descendu les pistes à toute allure. D'accord? So note, this is one of the verbs that we can use être or avoir with, right? So in this case, we have a direct object, and we're going to use avoir. So there's no agreement when we use avoir, okay? For now. Don't worry. We'll get you ready for that. Don't worry about it. Elle a perdu, avec U, du temps. Elle a acheté un livre à son ami. Alors ici, à son ami, c'est la même chose que dire pour son ami. Hein? It's just more typical for us to say ah. It used to be thought of as not as proper, but it's pretty much globally accepted now for that usage. Nathalie a passé un examen. Passé, again, is one of ours that can go back and forth, but look at what you have here. she is taking something else, or she took something else, right? Same thing up here. She went down something else. D'accord? So, excuse me, as soon as you have a direct object, pardon, my yawns are starting in full force today, then you're going to use avoir. Il a beaucoup travaillé. Ils ont retourné la télé pour ne plus la regarder. La, in this case, refers back to la télé. We're going to look at this stuff next semester. Elle a trouvé un trésor. D'accord? So there's your regulars, right? And we had quite a few irregulars, and I think we're going to hit some of those in the next activity. So this time, wait a minute. What? Bon, on va faire comme ça. Cette fois, on a besoin de l'auxiliaire aussi. You need to put in avoir also. D'accord? So there are some regulars here. This one is all... Oh, this one's all regulars too. I thought we had some irregulars coming up. Je m'excuse, hein, pendant que je... Ah, ça c'est bien. On a des irréguliers. Okay, so let's do this one. I will bookmark that other one for you so you can practice it if you want for the regulars. Alors, in this case, I believe that when you do this one yourself, you're going to have to write out the entire sentence in order to use the answer check thing. So if you know that they're right, cool. Like when we go through it in a minute, I'm going to know whether we're right or not. So I'm not going to bother to write out the whole sentence. Alors, je finis. Think about the base verb is finir. What kind of verb is it? IR. Now I know what to do for my auxiliary. I'm going to stop and think, what form of avoir do I need for je? And if you need to do all of this in steps, that's absolutely fine. So if I stop and think, okay, fini comes from finir, and that means that my past participle is this. Then I can go back, if I want, and think about avoir afterwards, or I can do the other direction if I want to. So on a et, n'est-ce pas, for avoir. And then what else do I need to do to kind of polish this up? Bleh. Two vowels next to each other must have an apostrophe. Two vowels next to each other, basically, in this case you have to have apostrophe. Your antenna should be totally receptive and reactive or something to whenever you see two vowels next to each other, because you know you're going to have to do something different, right? Every single time. So, il a des difficultés. So think about what your base verb is. If you want, we'll do it the other direction. So we have il. What's avoir for il? A. Now what's happening? Look, my base verb is avoir too. So now I need avoir as my auxiliary, and then I need to grab the past participle of avoir for my main verb, just like I grabbed the past participle of finir up here for my main verb. Okay, oh, is this big enough? Oh no, I usually make it bigger. And I completely forgot. Ça c'est assez grand ça, comme ça? J'espère. C'est plus grand, oui. Now I can't tell if it's bigger than it was. Okay. Alors, il a des difficultés. On va faire encore plus grand? Ouais, comme ça. Alors, il a eu des difficultés. N'est-ce pas? Nous croyons l'histoire. Oh, you guys haven't had this one. We will skip that one. Elles sont en retard. So what does sont come from? Pardon. Oh là 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 là. Voilà. From être. And then I stop and think, what do I need for avoir with elle pluriel? Elles ont. What's my past participle for être? Stop the video if you need to. Elles ont été en retard. Tu ne prends pas le petit déjeuner? Alors tu. And remember, now this is a good one to stop and do step by step, because what's happening? You're needing negative, right? What happens when I do a negative? If it's just ne pas, it's going around the conjugated verb. Don't think put it around the verb, because now you have two pieces of verb, right? So that's going to confuse you. I strongly recommend everybody to think about putting them, when you're thinking about it, to say to yourself that you're putting around the conjugated verb, the active verb, okay? So now that we make this into passé composé, avoir is our active verb, not prendre, right? Prendre is still our principal verb. That's the verb that's most important for meaning. Avoir is just tweaking it a little bit, right? Putting it in a time frame. So avoir is important, and it is the conjugated verb. So if we want to do this in steps, we can. What's avoir for tu? Ah. What's my past participle for prendre? Pris, n'est-ce pas? And then if I want, I can go back and put in my negative. So ne, et puis, pas, pris. And then what do I have to do? Two vowels next to each other. Voilà. Tu n'as pas pris. D'accord? So again, do this in steps if you need to. And as you get going with it, as you know it better, you will get faster and faster and faster. Now, you guys prepped this for the test, so these should be pretty good. But it's kind of good to go back and look at them in contrast with être passé composé, n'est-ce pas? Alors, vous faites la planche à voile. So, avoir pour vous, vous avez participe passé pour faire. So stop and think, what is my principal verb? It's already conjugated, but you have to stop and think what it is. Faire, n'est-ce pas? Qu'est-ce que vous me donnez comme participe passé? Alors, fait. Vous avez fait de la planche à voile? N'est-ce pas? J'achète des croissants. Standard ER. What am I going to do with je for avoir? J'ai. And what do I do with my past participle? Oh, pardon. J'ai acheté. So this is a stem changer, but we talked about the fact that the stem changers only change for the boot, right? And nous and vous are going to continue to resemble the infinitive, and the past participle is going to continue to resemble the infinitive. And one little trick to this that I promise you will almost always be foolproof until you get into some more complicated tenses. Certainly for now with present and with passé composé, you can trust this rule. It's kind of weird, but basically if the form of the verb has the same number of syllables as the infinitive, then the spelling matches the infinitive. So think about this when we go over here. I'm going to open a new one because I don't want it to... Voilà. Alors. So if we think of something like préférer, oui. When I take it with je préfère, I'm going to have a change in accent. Ouais. Tandis que nous, oui, oh, vous, n'est-ce pas? And my past participle, same deal. I'm going to make this a little longer. Voilà. Okay, look at what's happening. Préférer, préférons, préférer, préférer. Right? When I lessen the syllables, then I have to make this stem change. D'accord? That's going to be true for all of your stem changers. And it will even work for the first new tense that you learn in your next French class. So this is pretty key, okay? And it'll work until, I forget, at a certain point, at certain one tense, it falls apart at a little bit. But for now, you can trust this, okay? So that can just be kind of a little reminder, kind of a little way to check if you need to make your stem change or not, okay? So here we have j'achète avec l'accent, right? That's our stem change. Acheter, the past participle, looks just like, or has the same number of syllables as the infinitive. So I don't need to make a change. Faut qu'on se dépêche un tout petit peu, hein? We need to go a little faster, but we can still finish this one. So, elle préfère le film français. Elle, avoir, a. And we just talked about this one, so... Oh, qu'est-ce que je fais? Oh là là, j'arrive pas à taper ce soir. Oh là là. Voilà. Elle a préféré le film français. Est-ce que vous voyez le prof? We haven't had that one. We're going to skip that one. Je ne mange jamais de veau. Wait, did we? Now I can't remember. That means we had croire too. Well, we'll go ahead and do these. Nous, qu'est-ce que vous me donnez? Avant. And then past participle. This is the same family of verbs as avoir and voir and devoir, which we haven't seen yet, but oh well. Cru. Okay, so if you don't know that verb, don't worry about it. I'm just not going to go back and look real quick whether it's in our list or not. Croire means to believe or to think. Est-ce que vous voyez le prof? So this comes from the same family of verbs. And what's going to happen with est-ce que since I'm in passé composé? Nothing. Est-ce que is always est-ce que. Woohoo! Alors, est-ce que vous? Now I'm going to think about passé composé. Qu'est-ce que vous me donnez pour avoir avec vous? Avec, what? And then my past participle for voir is vu. Le prof. D'accord? Je ne mange jamais de veau. Jamais de veau. Alors, encore un masculin, oui. Alors, je. I don't know why I'm waiting. Sometimes I wait as if I'm in class, and then I remember that nobody's in the class. At least you guys usually aren't in the class. Nobody's gonna answer. And like do this little kind of audio ellipsis as if somebody's. So je. Come on, you can do it. Oh là là, c'est dingue. Alors je. Qu'est-ce que vous me donnez pour avoir? Avoir et, n'est-ce pas? And what's happening with my negative? Ne jamais goes around the conjugated verb. Almost always. Pardon. And then manger de vous. D'accord? So again, if you do this one on your own, you're going to need to write out all the sentences. And I imagine they're going to have need. I can't think in either language tonight. They're gonna. Oh, it's gonna be case sensitive. That's what I was trying to say. So voilà. On va passer alors au passé composé avec être. Attends. Voilà. So here, on va le rendre plus petit. Voilà. And we're going to scooch our little passé composé post-it over to the side. So now we're going to talk about using it with être. I've talked before about how text is a pretty good site for you guys to use, and now that you have REs, you can use it even more easily. It was kind of hard to recommend it fully for you before we had REs. Again, our book kind of goes at verbs in a strange order. So now that you've had the REs, you can pretty much use text. And again, any of these sites that I might link for you or that we might use in class instead of the book instead of the book activities, please don't worry if you run across verbs that you don't know, or if a lot of the sentences have vocab that you don't know. If that kind of thing doesn't throw you and you want to stop and look up the words and kind of get a better idea for the context, then cool. If that kind of thing just drives you crazy, then you might need to stick with our activities from our textbook. And if you're in the middle somewhere, you can go with whatever you'd like. I won't put any on that have a ton of vocab that you don't know, where the answer is heavily dependent on the context. Okay, I might post some where all you have to do is conjugate the verb into a certain tense, and you don't really need to know the context of the sentence to do that. But I won't ever use a site or an activity on a site where there's a very big percentage of vocab that you guys don't know, and you really have to know that vocab in order to answer the question. So don't worry about that. And then, as I've said before, functionality is a big deal. If you don't like how the site works, it's clunky, or it's slow, or it's confusing, or even if the format and the layout just drives you crazy, you know, not enough white space, it's stressing you out, then go on to the next one. Don't feel like, oh, I suck, I should be able to use this site. No. Regardless of what the problem may be, you rock, first of all. And secondly, we want these tools to work for you. Okay, the tool working or not is not a reflection on you. The tool doesn't work well for you. You need to go find a different tool. So same, these sites, think of them that way. Alors, now we're using être, pardon. Oh my gosh, my yawns are getting worse and worse and worse. Now, what I didn't say last week is I did use a little bit of jargon, but basically verbs that aren't taking a direct object or can't take a direct object are called intransitive verbs. Verbs that can take a direct object or are taking a direct object at that moment are being used transitively or are transitive verbs. So I said that is really what the difference is between être and avoir passé composé, is whether you have a verb that can take a direct object or not, or is being used with a direct object or not. For you guys' purposes, if that jargon just drives you crazy, you will have to be able to see from the sentence itself that, oh, there's something else there being affected by the verb, right? And if that's confusing, then what you can do is think about the easiest way to talk about a direct object is it's the, oh my goodness, I'm chilly too, and that makes me yawn even more. A direct object is the thing that's being most directly affected by the verb. Okay, now what happens in a sentence like j'ai fini mes devoirs? D'accord? So we know who's doing the action, and we know what's being affected the most directly. What did I finish? I finished my homework. D'accord? So that is a direct object. And this idea of being affected the most directly by the verb helps you also when you think about the être ones. So if I say, je sais pas, par Monoprix. D'accord? Monoprix is kind of like, I think we talked about it before, Monoprix is a little bit like Target. It's, it used to be kind of halfway between Target and Walmart, but the last time I was in France, it had come up in the world a little bit, so I would put it on more on par with Target now. Alors, je suis passé par Monoprix. Here, who is being the most affected by the verb? I am. D'accord? The subject is. So that's another way to look at these. I have a direct object here that's being affected the most directly by this verb. Who finished the homework? I did. But the thing that's being the most directly affected is the homework, right? Tandis que, whereas, when I say je suis passé, I'm the thing, this subject is the thing or person that's being the most directly affected by the verb. Okay, and we'll look at a couple of more examples. Nous sommes partis à 11h. D'accord? So who or what is being the most directly affected by this verb? Nous, the subject. Okay, so that's another way to think about these être ones, is that you're going to use être not only when you don't have a direct object, but when the most directly affected thing or person is the subject itself. D'accord? We'll look at another example. Ils sont, je sais pas, ils sont morts. It's really morbid, but oh well. Ils sont morts. So who's being the most directly affected this time by the verb? Il, again, the subject, right? Whereas when we look at the avoir one up here again, what's being the most directly affected? This thing out here, not my subject. Okay? And this could be a thing or a person, obviously. D'accord? So again, when we were talking about être passé composé, I said go back and study your adjective endings. Also study just the idea of making agreement, because I'm going to make agreement whenever I use passé composé with être, at least for now. And I also said another way to think about this is to think about être as the equal sign in an equation. Okay? So just like in an equation, if I said 2 plus 4 equals 6, right? One side equals 6, the other side equals 6, right? Both sides of the equal sign are the same, okay? Same thing happens with être. If you think of it as the equal sign in an equation, I'm always going to have the same number and gender on one side as I have on the other. So we can look at my examples right here. Let's change this one to L so it's more specific. So I wrote in feminine just by virtue of habit, but here it's more obvious. Elle est passée, so look at être. Elle est passée. So if this were an equal sign, look at what's happening on one side. Get out of the way. I hate that little box. I don't understand what it is. It drives me crazy. I don't know why it always shows up. Okay. And there it is again. Stop it. Okay. Elle est passée par Monoprix. So here I have singular, feminine singular, and here I have feminine singular, right? Look at nous sommes partis. Some is my form of être, so that's my equal sign, right? I have masculine plural here, or neutral plural, if you want to think of it that way. And I have masculine plural here, d'accord? On either side of my equal sign. Ils sont morts. So again, my form of être is sont. And it's like the equal sign in an equation. So masculine plural, masculine plural. D'accord? This is going to be true regardless of how you use être. Every single time you use être, you've got the same number and gender on one side as you have on the other. It doesn't have to be in passé composé. It could be with anything. So when we first learned your adjective endings, chances are the vast majority of your sentences had être in them because it's the easiest way to describe things. There are a few other verbs with which you can use adjectives, kind of like être, but very few. Okay, most of the time you're going to use être, or you're simply going to put it with the noun, which you learned to do as well. But when you've got être, you're going to have the same number and gender on one side as you do on the other, and that's always going to be true. D'accord? Alors on y va. On va regarder l'activité. I give you lots of examples here with text, and I may or may not have pointed out to you before that text always gives you little sound bites when there's an irregular verb or a new tense or something. So if you need to kind of remind yourself how these sound, go ahead and use the little speaker guide. And then we have the alamo of être instead of the house of être. UT uses this thing called the alamo of être. So if you really, really, really like the house of être and how that visual aid helps you, then nab this one as an alternative. It's pretty cool. And I will say, anytime you can let your head learn something with some kind of visual guide or graphic, your head loves that stuff. We're not conscious of how much they love that stuff, but our heads really, 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 really like visual aids and any kind of thing that might be a pattern that's geometric or anything like that. Colors, you can associate colors when you're studying, and that can help you as well. Your head really likes all of those kinds of connections. So here are some of our irregulars, d'accord? And we learned a lot more, right? But oh, pardon. Oh wait, maybe these are the only ones. Attends. I'm just going through the list in my head. All the rest of them are ERs, aren't they? And your special IRs. Now, in present tense, sortir is an irregular, right? Have we had sortir et partir? I think we have. Anyway, if we haven't, don't worry about it. But sortir and partir are irregulars in present tense, right? But in passé composé, they're not, because sortir just changes to I, partir changes to I, and then I'm just going to use être with them just like I do all the others. Okay, so don't worry too much about that stuff. And these are really for être, for the use of être. These are our only actual irregulars. Alors, on passe à l'activité. Wait a minute, there were a couple that I liked better than this one to start with. Oh, just because I don't want you to get tired of looking at text. This is a good one. I think we actually did it last week, but we're going to do it again anyway. Think about who these sentences can pertain to given who is in the picture and, of course, what the verb means. Oh, that. And, of course, based on also the number and gender of the people in the picture. Okay? So, je suis allée à la banque. Alors là, vous avez un gros indice. Hein? I always think indice is feminine, but it's not. Banque, n'est-ce pas? Banque, oui. Alors, je suis allée. On avait masculin singulier, so there too. If you didn't know that this was banque, or if there was something else here, you could have figured it out from the aller. Because look at who's in the picture. Male, singular. Alors, aller sans rien. Elle est sortie de la bibliothèque. So we know it's a girl by herself. Elle est sortie. Et la bibliothèque, and they have another big huge hint for you, n'est-ce pas? Vous avez le sigle ici, le panneau bibliothèque municipale. So, vous avez aussi les livres qu'elle apporte, pardon. Et voilà. Ils sont partis à toute vitesse. Alors, ils sont partis, this could be masculine, plural, or mixed group, right? So, I'll go and tell you this because I'm not sure that you're going to know these words. Vitesse means speed or haste. So, ils sont partis à toute vitesse. They left in haste. They left in a big rush, etc. Nous sommes montés au premier étage. So, monter means to go up, right? We know it's at least a plural group. We don't know if it's girls and guys or if it's just guys. Alors, et voilà. Vous avez le groupe ici des garçons ou des mecs qui montent un escalier, n'est-ce pas? Elles sont entrées au cinéma. Alors là, vous avez le cinéma, n'est-ce pas? Vous avez 3 filles. Alors, féminin, pluriel. Je suis arrivée au marché vers 9h. Alors voilà. So this one's singular again, and je, right? But I've got a number in gender still because, obviously, a je is going to have a gender as well, right? Alors voilà. And we're not going to vérifier because we already know it's right. Alors, this one is pretty interesting because it is asking you to figure out who could possibly be the subject based on what's there. Okay, so they're just having you focus on third person singular and plural, right? Look at your ending and figure out what you need. So someone est parti. What could it possibly be with this ending or lack of ending? Hint, hint. On parti. Il, n'est-ce pas? Again, pause the video if you need to. We're not going to grade it because we know. Rester. ES. Alors. Féminin pluriel. Très bien. Très bien, Suzanne. Sont venus avec S. Il, n'est-ce pas? So that could be a mixed group or it could just be guys. Quelqu'un est mort. Alors, il est mort. Sans rien, n'est-ce pas? Oh, these are really, really tiny. I'm so sorry. Okay, do you need to see the others? Voilà. Il est parti. Elles sont restées. Oh, and there you can see my screen is whacked out on goofballs right there. Elles sont restées. Ils sont venus. Il est mort. D'accord? Le prochain, quelqu'un est venu. Alors avec eux, elle est venue. And again, look at what's happening. Singular, feminine, singular, and here's être, which is my little equal sign, right? Numéro 6. Oh, we haven't seen reflexives yet, but look at your ending. Don't worry about don't worry about this little pronoun. We'll play with that later. But look at your ending on laver. Alors, ils se sont lavés. D'accord? Tomber, elle, n'est-ce pas? sont sortis, ES, n'est-ce pas? Sont sortis. Qui est sorti? Elle. Pluriel, n'est-ce pas? Et, again, don't worry about this pronoun. Pardon. Se doucher means to take a shower. So, who took a shower? Alors, c'est singulier, mais c'est doucher avec eux. Alors, elle. D'accord? Très bien. On a encore un exercice pour le passé composé. A little passage. And I will post that other one for you as well to use. Oh, I might not post it since it has the reflexes, and I don't want to freak anybody out with the reflexes. When you're doing those on your own, it can be a little more jarring. If I'm here telling you, oh, don't worry about it, then that's another thing. Regardez le passage alors, le passé composé avec être. Same thing. We are going to put in our entire verb form. D'accord? So être plus our past participle. Quant à ni, we're just going to go really quickly, so stop the video if you need to. Et do these in stages if you need to. Do them in steps. Go figure out être first, then figure out your past participle, then figure out your agreement. However you need to break it down. And little by little, it'll get faster. Elle est arrivée. Oh, voilà. Avec eux, parce que elle est féminine, pardon. Elle, elle est montée. Même chose, parce que c'est Annie encore, n'est-ce pas? This still refers to Annie. Nous sommes descendus par les escaliers et je suis tombée. We don't have any context here to tell us whether the nous group is just masculine and whether the je is masculine or feminine. So normally in that kind of a case, these online sites go for the default, which would be masculine. So we'll pretend that's the case. Renoir est né. Vous connaissez Renoir? C'est un artiste français très 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 connu dans les impressionnistes, mais un peu différent que les impressionnistes comme Monet, etc., n'est-ce pas? Mais quand même, il était impressionniste. Alors, il est mort en 1919, n'est-ce pas? Vous êtes sortis. We don't know if this is a plural or not, right? Because we know we can use vous for singular formal. It might be a group, right? But it may not be. And they have a typo here, so be aware that the accent is wrong on here. Obviously they know which way the accent's supposed to go because they've got it right down here. Somebody typed it wrong right there. C'est une faute de frappe. Et à quelle heure vous êtes entré? N'est-ce pas? In. So again, this could be plural, who knows? We'll go ahead and add a plural just in case, just because we know we can. Oh la la la. I think this is the worst yawning fit I've ever had during a class. It's terrible. Ils sont partis vers midi et ils sont arrivés à 1930. 17h30. 1930, c'est ça, n'importe quoi. Elles sont restées chez nous jusqu'à la fin de l'après-midi. D'accord? Alors, I didn't make that one big either. I keep forgetting to do that lately. I don't know what my problem is. Oh, voilà. So, anyway, at least I remember to push the talk button on Blackboard Collaborate this time. A couple weeks ago, one time, I didn't push the talk button the entire class, so I'm glad you were able to get to it on YouTube. But that's another reason why, oh, look at, I misspelled it. Why didn't you tell me? I got an extra S in there. That's another reason why YouTube is good to default to. However, that's another reason why I need to make sure and make the activities big so that you can see them on YouTube as well. Voilà. So this gives you a little bit of a review. As I said, this week we're spending basically just reviewing. You have some more activities to do on iLearn from chapter 6, from 6.2, and some of those will deal with vocab as well. And then I'm going to post as many passé composé activities as I can find. And your quiz will have to do with deciding between être and avoir, and making sure that you put agreement, if you need to, with the être ones. Or that is, if you need to because of using être. So bear that in mind. And then, as I said at the beginning, you've got 2 or 3 things that are due. Something that was your oral exam that was due the other day. If you haven't turned that in yet, get it in ASAP. I think I'll probably say that you have until Tuesday night to finish that. Text me or email me if that's a problem, and we can probably make some kind of arrangement for a couple more points to be taken off, and you could be another day later. And your next compo rough draft is due Sunday. And go back and look at those old quizzes if you'd like. You have 2 weeks to complete your makeup quizzes. So that's about all. Be sure and do yourself a favor and go review each thing before jumping in on those quizzes, okay? Don't just jump into them cold. And they really should help you review for the final as well, because as I said, I'm going to have some key things from earlier in the semester on the final. And you're going to notice that only half of the quizzes are going to be open for makeups for these 2 weeks. And then what I'm going to do is the last 2 weeks of the semester, you'll have the rest of the quizzes that will be open for makeups at that point. Okay? So I just didn't want you to have to worry about all of them at once, and I did want to give you this chance. So some will be open now and some will be open later, but don't worry. They'll all be open at some point for you to go back and take for a slight point reduction if you missed them the first time. Alors, je pense que c'est tout. Alors, bonne soirée à tous et puis étudiez bien. iLearn est prêt et le module est presque prêt. Et voilà, à tout à l'heure. Alors, amusez-vous bien, bon courage et tout ça. Bonne continuation. D'accord. Salut! Où est-ce qu'il est mon petit truc? Voilà.
Recording stopped.